One of Walmart's, the big box store, one of the most well-known stakeholders and family members, Christy Walton, has funded an anti-Trump ad in the New York Times calling on Americans to join.
On a calm Tuesday morning, something happened at a Walmart in Ohio. A woman of 3 stood motionless in the toy aisle, looking at a price tag of $55 for a plastic dinosaur she had purchased for $39.99 only months before. In another corner, an elderly guy returned a bag of bananas, now bizarrely priced at more than 50 cents apiece. Cameras started to roll. Photographs of receipts and shelf tags circulated like wildfire on social media. The message was clear. It wasn't inflation, but something else. Who is the culprit? Tariffs. Not a hacker. Not a natural calamity. Not a supply chain breakdown. However, a premeditated wave of trade sanctions issued by Washington and signed off by President Trump, directed at foreign products, but ricocheting directly into American shopping baskets. Walmart, the country's largest retailer, foresaw this coming. Their CFO told analysts, "We can't take it all." And now the pressure is shifting onto the shelves, the consumers, and the people who rely on low costs to survive. However, what occurred next surprised everyone. As Walmart descended into disarray, Canada soared. U.S. customers packed their passports. Canadian stores were fully stocked. Prices were stable. And a retail revolution began, one aisle at a time. It began gently. There is a toy here. A banana is there. Only a few bucks more than previously. But by the first week of June, the shift was clear. Everyday things have skyrocketed in price. A Jurassic World action figure that was formerly priced at $39.99 now costs $55. A 34-year-old baby doll had turned 49. A fishing reel went from $57 to more than $80. And it did not take months. It occurred within days. Walmart, an icon of American discount shopping, was collapsing under the weight of Trump's tariffs. What started as a 30% tax on Chinese imports swiftly increased to 25% on items from Canada and Mexico, followed by a 10% levy on everything else. No industry was spared. None of the products were safe. For a corporation that had spent decades establishing low-cost worldwide supply systems, the unexpected cost increase was unsustainable. Walmart's chief financial officer, John David Rainey, stated unequivocally, "We cannot absorb all the pressure." As a result, the pressure was transferred directly to the customer, from corporate spreadsheets to checkout lines. Social media erupted. Shoppers shared the images of price tags comparing receipts from only a few weeks ago. A popular thread dubbed the uproar "Price Tag Panic." Memes criticized Trump's statement that Walmart should just eat the cost. But inside the business boardrooms, there was no laughter, only worry. Margins were falling. While Walmart battled to contain the damage, other behemoths such as Target remained firm, for a moment. However, even they eventually gave up. By mid-June, the whole American retail sector was raising prices, not out of avarice, but for survival. Customers throughout the country felt deceived. This was not inflation. This was not a scarcity. This was a man-made crisis. For millions of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, it was a direct blow to their daily life. While American buyers looked at skyrocketing prices and half-empty stores, something surprising was occurring just across the border. In Canada, retailers were flourishing. A retail resurgence began, with petroleum coming from the United States. It started softly. Canadian shoppers, outraged by Trump's harsh statements, began boycotting American items. A staggering 76% reported making a purposeful move to local products. Retailers embraced the trend. Loblaws, for example, have plastered red Canadian flags over everything from cereal to frozen peas. Imports from the United States were marked with a big red T, indicating that they were tariff-inflated and should be avoided. But then the Americans arrived. Families from Michigan, New York, Washington, and Vermont began traveling north. They were not simply visiting, they were also shopping. And what they discovered astonished them. Fully filled shelves, familiar goods at familiar prices, long lineups at checkout, but they moved. While Walmart suffered under tariff pressure, Canadian companies such as Canadian Tire and Metro reported record sales, fueled not only by patriotic locals, but also by desperate Americans seeking relief. Even Canadian liquor retailers reported an increase. While American bourbons remained unaffected, Canadian whiskey rushed off the shelves. What about orange juice? Tropicana from Florida was overlooked in favor of domestic products. Canadian pride soared. "We are not America" banners emerged on storefront windows. Flyers advised people to purchase Canadian. shop smartly, and avoid tariff craziness. And the approach worked. Cities such as Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver all reported significant increases in foot traffic. Border towns experienced retail highs not seen since the pre-pandemic years. What started as a protest became a profit explosion. While U.S. politicians raced to spin the upheaval, Canadian merchants doubled down, expanding, promoting, and regaining the devotion of a consumer base that America had pushed away. In this retail stalemate, Canada was not simply surviving, but prospering. As tariffs tightened their hold, the collapse did not end with Walmart. Small-town America's mom-and-pop shops began to close. These were not multi-billion-dollar retailers with worldwide networks. These were family-run stores that relied on consistent suppliers and predictable costs. But those certainties went instantly. Wholesalers increased their charges. Shipping expenses skyrocketed. Inventory delays became the norm. One shop owner in Buffalo, New York, said it best: "We used to lose customers to Walmart. Now we're both losing." Meanwhile, border strip malls deserted. Foot travel in locations such as Niagara Falls has decreased dramatically. Duty-free businesses reported revenue decreases of up to 50%, and the once booming travel pipeline from Canada to the United States has reduced to a trickle. Flights from Canadian locations to U.S. shopping destinations such as Orlando and Las Vegas fell by more than 70%. Local authorities in Palm Springs, a city that historically relied on Canadian snowbirds, stated that "we miss the Canadians. They kept our city alive in the cold." Even digital barriers started to dissolve. Amazon.ca noticed a significant rise in U.S. online traffic. To avoid tariffs, American buyers used third-party proxies to arrange orders for pickup or delivery in Canada. Canadian discount applications began advertising across the border. Billboards in Michigan and New York contained QR codes that provided unique Canadian shopping offers. While local companies struggled, large chains fared no better. Costco and Target began issuing warnings to shareholders. Suppliers ceased negotiating. Revenue estimates were cut. The stock market took note. Back on Main Street, survival required sacrifice. Parents did not give their children birthday presents. Seniors rejected brand-name drugs. Every receipt revealed a narrative of compromise. During the upheaval, America's retail backbone began to bend, and in some cases, break. What had once been a rivalry amongst businesses had evolved into a catastrophe that affected everyone. While Canadian merchants welcomed the wave, American firms braced for the hit, recognizing too late that tariffs do not discriminate. They decimate. As store stocks crumbled and customers protested, shockwaves hit Wall Street. Walmart shares fell 6% in a single quarter, led down by a warning from its CFO about continued volatility due to tariffs. Target and Costco followed, with their values plummeting as analysts issued downgrade after downgrade. The market sent a clear message: the retail sector had lost its footing. Investors rushed to comprehend the long-term ramifications. Profit margins were declining. Inventory expenses were rising. Forecasts become guesswork. The holiday season, which had previously been a reliable cash source, now appeared to be a gamble. Even consumer confidence indicators began to fall as households prioritized food over gas and toys over electricity payments. Back in Washington, tensions rose. Lobbyists from all sectors of the retail business crowded Capitol Hill. Trade groups issued grave warnings, predicting that back-to-school sales would plummet, holiday shopping would suffer, and quarterly earnings would be wiped out. But the White House refused to budge. President Donald Trump doubled down. What's his message? The tariffs are working. He said they were bringing supply chains home and reviving American manufacturing. But the statistics revealed a more complex picture. While some factories returned to the United States, the majority were mechanized, creating fewer employment than anticipated. And with costs increasing and demand weakening, even the new employment seemed fleeting. Meanwhile, in Canada, the tone was different, confident, coordinated, and tranquil. Retailers grew. Distribution centers multiplied. As Washington stayed fast, Ottawa welcomed every American dollar that flowed north. With markets shaky and Main Street in disarray, it was evident that this was more than simply a trade conflict. This was an identity crisis for the United States economy, and it showed no indications of abating. And with additional tariffs on the way, the worst may not yet be over. This isn't merely a price hiccup or a short-term market shift. It's a full-fledged tariff war, and no one knows how to stop it. Next week, the new set of responsibilities will focus on electronics. The following week will be all about apparel. Every time the shelves are refilled, prices rise, receipts stretch, and household finances crack. For millions of Americans, the consequences are no longer hypothetical. This is about survival, not just economy. Birthday presents are being overlooked. Meals are being reduced, and families are discreetly plotting excursions north to Canada, where stores are full, prices are reasonable, and anarchy has not taken hold. Retail powerhouses are bleeding. Small stores are fading. Washington stays obstinate. What about consumers? They are adjusting. Once a customer understands how to beat the system, they will never go back. The impact extends beyond the retail sector. It is changing the way people think about commerce, trust, and leadership. And unless something changes quickly, this isn't simply the start of a new retail reality. It's the slow-motion demise of the old. Because in this conflict, there are no bombs or bullets, but there are casualties. The first to collapse is the American consumer.